for joining. So glad to have you here today. My name is Angie, and I'm going to be facilitating this session today. And we are so excited to have our first ever live interactive guest expert speaker in one of our summits. So really excited for this today. So I'm going to introduce you to Dr. Ashley here, and then we'll get going with the presentation. So just a couple of housekeeping things before we get started. So this is an interactive presentation, so please feel free. If you have questions, you can raise your virtual hand using the Zoom controls, the reacts at the bottom of the Zoom meeting. Please feel free to raise your hand, and when there's a good stopping point, we'll call on you, and you can come off screen or on camera and ask your question if you'd like. So please unmute yourself and come on camera and ask your question. If you don't feel comfortable coming on camera, you obviously certainly don't have to. You have the ability to just ask your question via your audio, or if you want to just put it in the chat, and then we can kind of get to those chat questions as they're appropriate and as we're able to weave them into the presentation today. So lots of opportunities for interaction. We will be doing breakout sessions later too with some prompts for you to get together with other people and have discussions and interact and to discuss the questions at hand. So really looking forward to that. So I invite everybody, if you feel comfortable, to come on off camera or come on camera, and so we can see all your beautiful faces. And again, if you don't feel comfortable with that, you don't have to. And just a reminder that this meeting is being recorded. So if you do come on camera, keep that in mind. We are recording this and we will be presenting it on the site all day today. So I think those are all the housekeeping items. You can, like I said, feel free to use the chat or raise your hand and we will get you in with your questions. So without further ado, I would like to introduce to you all Dr. Ashley Smith. So Dr. Smith is a licensed clinical psychologist, co-founder of Peak Mind, the Center for Psychological Strength, and author of The Way I See It, A Psychologist's Guide to a Happier Life. Welcome, Dr. Ashley Smith. So grateful to have you here today.
Thank you. I am excited to be here to be the guinea pig for the live interactive sessions. And thank you everybody who is joining us live and joining us on the replay. I'm going to share my screen really quickly because we are going to go through. Perfect. Got to make sure we've got sound. Awesome. Okay. So what we're talking about today is living by your inner compass and living by what truly matters. In psychology, we call this valued actions. And we're going to do a lot of work today to get clear on what values are, what your values are, and then how we actually use them when life feels hard or throws challenges at you. I will invite you, if you're able to, turn off notifications, carve out this space for you and do a little bit of work. So as Angie said, grab paper and pencil if you've got it, use your notes in your phone if you've got it, but we're going to do some interactive pieces where you'll be doing some work on your own, and then we can certainly do some work as a group. So that said, I want you to imagine that you are all of a sudden plunked down in the middle of a city that you've never been to. And you're just there. And you have no map, you have no GPS, there's no anything, and you're just sitting here. Where do you go? What do you do to have a great experience in this city? Right? Well, it matters, in terms of figuring out which direction do I go? Well, it depends. Do you want food? Do you need lodging? Are you looking for entertainment or to make friends or to see the natural beauty or the tourist traps? What are you looking for? Because that's going to put you on very different courses. And think about how much easier it would be if you know, A, where you're going, and B, if you had some sort of guidance system to get there, right? That you could plug it in. I'm looking for food, and we had some sort of guidance to say, well, this is where you go. And even if you are following the course and then all of a sudden there's construction, I don't know where you're based. I'm in Kansas City. There's always construction. So you might hit it and have to take a detour, but you still know where you're going and you still have your guidance for how to get there. Now extend this as a metaphor for life, right? We are plunked down in life and there are a lot of outside things coming in telling us what we're supposed to be looking for, food, lodging, entertainment, and how to get there. But the question is, it's not always right. Sometimes where we're told to go isn't where we really need to be going. And the guidance we're given on how to get there isn't really accurate. And this is where getting really clear on your values becomes incredibly important. So, in the field of psychology, as I mentioned, we have what's called our values. Your values are just the technical definition would be freely chosen ways of being and doing that are ongoing. Now, what does that actually mean? Your values are your blueprint, your map, if you will, for how to be the best version of you and how to live your version of a good life. Your map is going to look very different than my map because you and I are not the same. So, our values, think of them as the answer to the questions who are you and how are you? Who are you and how are you? And that is, I think, the most fundamentally important questions that we can ask ourselves. So I want to be really clear. A lot of times in our culture, when we talk about values, people tend to think about goals or things. So they'll say things like, well, I value family or I value success. Cool. And that can be part of it. But I want you thinking of it less about the thing and more about the way. What I mean by that is thinking about the words you would want to describe you. For example, if we had a baseball player, and yes, of course, every baseball player wants to win their game, right? So winning, but that's not really what we're talking about with their values. I'm talking about what kind of baseball player are you? Super competitive? Or are you the big cheerleader for the team, the one that's lifting everybody up? That's the how are you, right? Values are what do you stand for? The other thing that is really important when it comes to values and where people sort of get things mixed up is they confuse values with goals. Your values are like the direction on a compass or on your map, right? Let's say your value is east. I'm actually facing east right now. When do I get to east? Right? You don't. There are stops along the way, right? There's from Kansas City, I can go to New York, I can go to London. So there might be stops along the way, but you never get to east. You don't get to check it off. Goals are check offable, right? You can get that promotion, you can get that relationship, you can hit that health goal, whatever it is. Values are ongoing. You never get there all the way. And this is really cool because what it means, and we're going to come back to this concept when it comes to like dealing with life, is if I get thrown off course, all of a sudden now I'm going north. When I recognize I'm off course and I'm no longer following my values, my inner compass, I can just turn and course correct. So our values are always available to us if we recognize that we're off course. And more importantly, we know what the heck our values are. You have to know that East is your value. And in my experience, I've worked with people in a psychology practice for nearly 20 years, do a lot of speaking, teaching, and writing. And, just as a human in the world, having conversations, most people haven't really done the work to get clear on what their values are. We know the things we should value. I put that in air quotes very intentionally because those are the things society tells us should be important. This is what we think we should do. And that's not going to work. You can follow them, but you're going to have some sort of ick that comes up. And ick is the very professional scientific term that I use for unwanted or uncomfortable internal experiences, thoughts, feelings, urges, sensations, memories. We'll come back to that. So we're going to start today by getting clear on our values. So I'm going to invite you to close your eyes down if you're in a place where you feel comfortable with that. Get comfortable in your seat, and we're going to do a short visualization exercise. If you're not comfortable closing your eyes down all the way, that's cool. No big deal. Just look at a place on the floor. Don't stare at the screen. It's going to feel awkward. And if you want to turn your camera off for a second, no problem. but I'm going to guide you through a visualization exercise. So settle in and start to feel the weight of your body. Feel your body being supported by the chair or the earth. Notice all of the places that your body is in contact with the surface. It might be your feet on the ground, your bottom in a chair, your back leaning against something, your hands in your lap or on a table. And start to go inward for a minute. Slow your breathing down. Long, slow inhales, long, slow exhale. And notice the place on your body where you feel your breath the most clearly. It might be the tip of your nose, it might be your chest, or it might be your abdomen. And simply rest your attention on the spot where you feel your breath the most clearly. And see if you can follow a single breath from the very beginning of the inhale all the way to the top of the breath. The slight pause as your body shifts into exhale and all the way to the bottom. Now follow one more breath. Now in your mind's eye, we're going to do a little imaginary time travel. And I want you to jump ahead many, many years in the future. And through some twist of fate, you are able to attend your own funeral. Now, this is at the end of a very long, very joyful, very satisfying life. And everyone you have ever known is in attendance. This might be everyone that you have met, and maybe even people you haven't met yet in real life. Everyone you've ever known, even those who are no longer with us in real life. And while everyone is sad to lose you, they have a sense of peace because they know that you lived your life well. And they've come together to honor that. And as we do at funerals, it's time for the eulogy. And the first person who stands up is someone who has known you so well. It's someone from your personal life. It could be a friend, a partner, a child, a parent, someone in your community who has known you, respected you, benefited from being in your orbit. Picture them. And they talk about what knowing you has meant to them. They share about the impact that you've had on them. They talk about who you are, what you stood for, and the way you moved through this world. Hear their words. Let this be aspirational. What would you want them to say about who you are and how you are? And now a second person stands up. And this is someone that you've known in more of a professional capacity. So it could be from work, maybe a boss or a colleague or a mentee. It could be from school. Maybe it was a teacher or a coach or someone that you've taught. It could be from a volunteer capacity. And they agree, but they have something new to add. What do they say about who you are, how you are? What do they say about the impact that you've had on them, on your community, in the world? Hear their words. Now, the third and final person to stand up is someone you didn't even know you had an impact on. These are ripple effects. So it's a friend of a friend, a child of someone you've influenced. It's someone who's seen you from afar or interacted with you on a casual basis. And they have a little bit to add. What do they say about how you lived your life? About what knowing you, watching you, seeing you has meant to them? And now I want you to notice what comes up for you in this moment, in real time, as you think about these aspirational eulogies. Notice any thoughts that come up. Notice any feelings that come up. And I want you to ask yourself, if you were to die tomorrow, how fitting would these eulogies be? And what does that tell you about the way that you live and love and work and play? Now start to bring your awareness back into your body. Notice your breath as it travels in and out of your lungs. Maybe wiggle your toes a little bit. Stretch your fingers, roll your neck. Come back to the here and now. And when you're ready, you can open your eyes. I'm going to ask you to take a couple of minutes to do some written reflection. So pen and paper, notes in your phone if you have it, but to reflect on that exercise. To answer these questions, what do you realize about the way that you're moving through life right now? And if you died today, would the last few weeks reflect who you're truly meant to be? What does this tell you about what's important to you? What are the words that you want to describe you? What are your values? And then I want you to start to think about, and this is where we'll build on, how can you lean on your values when life gets tough? What gets in the way? I'm going to give you a few minutes, and this would be a great point if you have questions to throw them in the chat. a couple more minutes. So this is certainly not intended to be a one and done process. When it comes to clarifying your values, really figuring out who you are and how you are, it's an ongoing thing. And I would invite you to come back to this, to reflect on it over the rest of the day, over the week, to come back to who am I? How do I want people to describe me? What are the principles, my guiding North Star, right? That brings you back when you get knocked off course. So, for example, mine, courage, curiosity, compassion are the big ones. Independence, connection, learning, adventure. These are the things that come up that when I am living my life well, this is the way that I'm doing it. The quality of my actions, the quality of my behaviors and my choices. Now, one of those questions was what gets in the way? Because we all do, right? If we all knew who we are, who we wanted to be, it would be great if we could just do that all the time, right? But life throws challenges at us. No one gets through this without some sort of adversity or difficulty, challenge, or trauma, right? And what really gets in the way of us living in alignment with our values, being able to embody those ongoing, freely chosen ways of being and doing, it's not what happens to us, it's our mind. And we could spend days and days talking about how our minds operate by default, but I want to just touch on something really quickly for you so we can start to come back to this. How do I live by my compass? You need to understand a few fundamental things. You are not your mind. And that's something that people say, but here's what I mean by that. You have a stomach, right? And it growls and it grumbles. But do you say, I am growling? No, because that would be weird, right? You say, my stomach is growling. There's you and there's your stomach. You have a heart and it pounds or it beats. But do you say, I am pounding? No, there's you and there's your heart. You say, my heart is pounding. Well, stomachs growl, hearts pound, minds think. That's just what they do. They are thought generating machines and they create not only thoughts, but emotions, urges, sensations. And those are not you. So this is important as we go. So I want you to start to think about your mind. Your mind is just it's like your brain is the computer and your mind is the software, right? It's just this operating system for life. But your mind by default evolved with one main job, to keep you safe. So what does that mean? It means it is perpetually on the lookout for potential danger. That's it. Anytime you do something new or different, you feel uncomfortable, right? You get some ick, which would be anxiety or discomfort or awkwardness, right? Some sort of unwanted or uncomfortable internal experience. That's just your mind being like, stay safe, right? So our minds want to keep us safe while conserving energy. meaning that they need to be able to process a lot of information really quickly to keep you safe. So they take shortcuts. That's all that means. So when you put this together, our minds are trying to keep us safe while conserving energy. What that means is they go negative and they jump to conclusions. They go negative and they jump to conclusions. Now, where am I going with this? I want you to think about anytime a friction point has happened in your life. So, a friction point meaning anytime you didn't feel calm, content, or confident, right? So, you had some sort of anxiety or anger or sadness. There's a situation that comes up and our mind reacts, and it's like ick, right? The thoughts, the feelings, the sensations, the urges. And then we have our values, and they're often at odds with each other. So think about, for example, let's say that honesty is your value, right? Honesty is who you want to be and how you want to be. You want to be honest. And someone asks you to do something that you don't really want to do. But your mind starts to give you all that people pleasing stuff and is like, ugh, what if they get mad at you, or you're going to hurt their feelings, or you should do this? So all of a sudden, you're at this, what we call choice point, right? And a choice point is like a fork in the road where I can follow the ick. I can do what my mind tells me to do, which would be say yes, right? If I say yes, I get rid of all of that anxiety. I feel better in the moment, but it is not following my value because my value is honesty, and my honest answer is no. So, time and time again, throughout the day, we run into these choice points where we are literally at a fork in the road where we can do what our mind tells us to do, which is going to be negative. That's going to be the anxiety or anger or sadness or insecurity, or we follow our values. We let our heart guide us. So you can think head versus heart. I think mind versus me kind of thing. A couple other examples. So the holiday season is coming up, and I get a lot of people asking about how to deal with difficult dynamics, right? Maybe you have a family member who lives on the other side of the socio-political spectrum from you, right? So you have very different belief systems. Okay, well, here's going to be a choice point. I want you to think about, what are your values? For me, it's connection. Okay, so I can connect or I can be right. So when Uncle Bob starts spouting off whatever I completely and strongly disagree with, I can go fight or flight, right? I can be like, oh, you're wrong. So I can choose to be right, or I can choose to connect. I can't do both. If you're afraid of something, let's say you want to tell someone how you really feel, or you want to go after a promotion, or you want to start a side hustle, or you want to take a tap dancing class, you're going to have that your mind. Ooh, what if it goes badly, right? It looks for everything that could go wrong. Or you tap into courage. Courage will tell you to do it. Fear will tell you to avoid. So in any moment, we have to look for these choice points. And I will tell you, it's not always easy to recognize them, right? Because we're not used to it. We're used to just going through the motions, and we trust our mind to tell us what to do, how to feel, what to do. So even being able to recognize that there are, in fact, choice points is huge. Well, step one is getting clear on what your values are, so you know there's a choice. Two is starting to recognize in the moment that they're, maybe even after the moment, in hindsight, anytime when you're like, that didn't sit well. I don't think I like the way I handled that. So to go back to that choice point, what was your mind telling you? What would your values have told you? What would it have looked like to follow your compass? Because we can always make the choice through our actions. We don't get to control what it comes up inside. Unfortunately, right? I wish there was a Control Alt Delete button and we could just take out those painful or unwanted or negative thoughts or feelings, but we can't. They're going to be there. Sometimes they're useful, sometimes not. But we do get a choice in what we do. If you're afraid to say hi to a stranger, okay, you can still do it anyways. You can do things even when you're scared. You can be angry at someone and still choose to speak respectfully, right? You can even stand up for yourself. You don't have to necessarily roll over and just go with it, but they're screaming at someone versus calmly communicating why you disagree, right? So we have these options. So there's a story that I love to share. It's not mine. I don't know who originated it. Supposedly it's a Native American parable, and it goes something like this. A grandfather and his granddaughter having a conversation, and the grandfather is explaining that inside each of us are two wolves, and these wolves are at war. One wolf represents everything that is evil in this world. It is fear, it is shame, it is greed, it is hate, it is envy. And the other wolf is everything that is good. It is compassion, it is kindness, it is love, it is pride, it is joy, it is peace. And the little girl stops and she thinks about it for a minute. And she says, "Well, okay, Grandpa, but if they're at war, which one wins?" And he says, "The one you feed." And I love this when it comes to understanding this choice point, because every moment we have a choice. If I get off course, I can always come back to east. If I recognize that I have a choice and I am willing to make it. Now, that does not mean that it is comfortable or easy, but the more you feed the wolf, the stronger it gets. The more you practice courage, the more you practice honesty, the more you practice creativity or whatever your value is, the easier that is going to get to be for you. Same thing, the more you practice giving into anxiety. So the more you avoid what makes you anxious, the more you avoid doing the hard thing, the more you lash out at people, the easier that gets too. So I'm going to ask you to think about in your own life a choice point, maybe even one that's come up today. Maybe even one that's coming up right now because we're about to put you into breakout rooms. And if you're like a lot of people, your immediate thought was, ew, I don't want to be here. I'm going to hop off now. I have something to do. That's default. That's your mind saying, ew, don't do anything uncomfortable. Can you tap into a value? Clearly, you have values because you are here. And I'm guessing you have things like health, healing, compassion, connection. You wouldn't be here. So, can you tap into your value? And we're going to put you into breakout rooms for just a few minutes to talk about what is a real life choice point that's come up for you recently. Can you think about what your options are? What would it look like to follow the ick? And what would it look like to follow your values? So, we'll give you maybe 7 minutes or so, and then we'll come back and we'll talk as a group. So, Angie, can you put people into breakout rooms?
Yes, I will. Hold on 1 minute, please. All right, everybody. Here we go. You'll get a invitation to join. Please click join to join your room. Go ahead and click join, please. All right. All right. Please go ahead and click join if you can. Some people have joined, some are still in this room with us. Okay. So for those of you that joined or that stayed in this room, I'd invite you now to go ahead and come on off mute and we can have a discussion. So I think you'll be in the room with me and Dr. Ashley. So lucky you. So come on off mute and please share. I can start because I have a choice point that I've been dealing with. So it came up kind of over the holidays. My you know that fun time when you have the family, right? And so
Right.
some of
But
it,
it's supposed to be so joyous, and it
right.
really isn't for many, many people.
For many,
Mhm.
many people, it really isn't. And some of it is really great, and some of it is not so great, right? And so I do have a family member that I often struggle with how to interact with this family member because they are very opinionated, right? And they've got opinions like you were kind of talking about that are very different than maybe, my opinions might be. And so it's always fun and interesting. And I'm a people pleaser, so I'm always very much like I'll just let them talk and I'll just let them go and I'll just, placate and I'll just nod my head and I'll keep the peace, right? And so, and that's usually my default. But it does make me feel icky. Like I do have the ick inside because I don't want to necessarily go along, right, with everything that they're talking about. So I did have to make kind of that choice over the holidays, and I did kind of choose to communicate in a way where I thought it was respectful, and yet still like showing them that I have boundaries, and I don't necessarily want to be involved in what they're talking about and in their viewpoints, and it doesn't necessarily apply to everyone. And it's the first time I did that. And I'd been around this person my whole life, and it felt really good. It felt really good, and I think it was a really a wake-up call for me to say, oh, I do have agency to control how these meetings go, right? It's not just us all sitting there listening to this person kind of spouting. I do have agency to direct it and to sort of insert myself in a meaningful and a respectful way. So that was really, really, I was proud of myself for that one. It
You
was
should
really
be. I don't use should very often. I think it's a really unhelpful word, but
good.
you should be proud. That's the
Yeah.
word I'm looking for. Because it takes courage, one, to break a script, right? But that is a beautiful example of a choice point. And my guess is you were tapping into a value of either honesty or self-respect or boundaried, um, something like that. And you were able to exercise it.
I
That's
think
an
I was. Yeah, it felt good.
yeah.
It did feel aligned with, I guess I didn't really think about it in those words, but it
Mhm.
felt aligned with what felt right for me. So,
Exactly.
yeah.
And that's really what we're talking about. So, let's see, I'm keeping an eye on the time. It's been
Yeah.
about 5 or 6 minutes since we popped.
Okay.
Do we want
Yeah.
to bring everybody back and maybe we can continue this
Let's do,
discussion?
yeah, let's do that. So let me go ahead in these breakout rooms and bring everybody back. So I'm closing all the rooms now so that they'll be back here in 60 seconds.
Perfect. I think sometimes this takes a lot of practice. It's one of those, it makes sense in theory, but really being able to see the application takes talking through some examples. So that's wonderful.
I think you're right. Yeah, so we're just waiting on everybody to come back. And thank you to those who stayed in this room with us, and we'll give you a chance to discuss if you feel so inclined. And if you do have anything that you want to say, please, raise your hand. I invite you to come on off mute and you can go ahead and speak. All right, people are coming back.
Great. And I see folks chatting still in their rooms, which is awesome to see as well.
Mhm. All right.
Okay. Welcome back, everyone. I know that probably lots of great discussion, and we were continuing one in our room and thought, you know what, let's just bring everybody back in to talk through some of these choice points. And Angie shared an example of historically kind of going along with a family member when they talked and just sort of people pleasing, placating, and then having the courage to communicate clearly and set a boundary. And it was a great example of a choice point. And so I want to throw out a couple others and I want to take some from you. So if you are willing to share one of your choice points, we can talk through what does this look like to follow your default programming. So meaning letting the ick call the shots versus aligned action. So you'll hear that term a lot, like living in alignment or following your values. Like, what does that actually mean? And that means to act in a way that is congruent with your values. So, besides the communication one, which I think is coming up a ton in the holiday season, one of the other ones that does has to do with health. So, if you value health or strength or self-care, even if those are the like, so we can make those LY, the words, descriptions like healthily, then think about the choice point you're going to have. Last night I was at dinner with a friend for her birthday and um, I'm super full. And the server asks if we want dessert. What did my mind say? It's like, yes, yes, you should have it. What do my values say? No, I feel better when I don't. What did I do? Oh, mine got me on that one. I'm not going to lie. This is not a perfect practice by any means, but I will pause for a second. I would love to hear from one of you who's with us if you're willing to share your choice point.
Just go ahead and come on off mute if you'd like to speak. Love to hear from you. Yeah, Rose.
Recently, I had a friction with a person that I was in an online group with, and it
Oh, you froze on my
was
end. Oh,
it
sorry,
was like
Rose,
right
say that
we
again.
stayed on. Yeah. So after an online meeting, was with the leader, and we had a she called me out on something and it made me very uncomfortable, and I was tempted to either become defensive or just close out the call as fast as possible. And but I remembered, these values and what I've learned, and I chose to stay with it. And then it 3 weeks went by before we had another one-on-one opportunity. Some of it was that I didn't quite allow them to happen, but the day that it did was the perfect moment, and we were able to hear each other and really restore the relationship and find out that we were actually on the same side, and that we just misunderstood something at the moment in the heat of our emotions. And so I was very grateful that by sticking with it and not reacting, but choosing, I got to keep a really good and valuable relationship.
That's amazing. One, congratulations. And two, thank you for sharing. But that is a wonderful example of a choice point, right? And I think about curiosity as one of my personal values, right? It is top of the line. But if you look at that, and I've had that experience more times than I can count of something pokes my ego, right? I got a nasty comment on social media last week, and my default was like, no, I didn't do anything wrong, defend, right? And I could see that's ego, that's my mind, right? Fight or flight. Value, we can tap into curiosity, and that's what you did, right? I wonder what they actually meant, and can we get on the same page? Beautiful. I chose to go with, staying consistent with my strategy and staying courageous, which is don't let anxiety call the shots. So wonderful job. Anyone else willing to share a choice point? Or does anyone have a question about how to how to lean on your values?
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can, Crystal.
Okay. So my husband had an affair and I chose to stay with him.
Mhm.
My nervous system is traumatized by that, and so every day I have to make a choice that I'm okay
Mm,
because it's not happening anymore and I made the choice to stay.
mhm.
But I get that ick a lot.
I would imagine, right? And for many, many reasons that like anxiety is going to kick in. Am I safe? Am I safe? Am I going to get hurt again? That's what anxiety does. It's probably
Yeah.
anger. Anger just means someone did something I don't like. I'm
Yeah.
assuming anger kicks in and probably both. What values are you leaning on? What is your heart doing? What are the values that are guiding you here?
Um, so it took me a long time to realize that it wasn't about me.
Mm.
Um, it was about my husband and what he was going through, and that I need to value myself and my self-confidence and my strength. I've learned how strong I am. I
Mm.
never thought I could go through something like this.
Yeah, that's amazing. I mean, I think it's often true, right? Our minds underestimate how strong we are, but you can handle anything. Your track record's 100%, right? You've handled 100% of the things that life has thrown at you. But I
Yeah.
hear values coming through, and whether you'll have to decide, like, yeah, that fits for me or not. But I hear compassion, understanding, love, forgiveness, strength, self-care, confidence, lots of things that you could potentially lean on in those moments when anxiety and anger is kicking in. And it doesn't mean we ignore anxiety and anger, it's just a choice. Is that taking me the direction I want to go? Is it taking me east or is it taking me away from it?
hmm
Beautiful.
So yeah,
Thank you.
when I
Mhm.
get triggered, I try and just ground myself, and you know, I've just learned a lot about myself in this whole process, and um, I will not put up with any of the behaviors that he was actually um using at the time. So if he starts to gaslight me or manipulate me, I just say I'm not gonna participate in this, and I'll leave the room, or I'll just tell him, you need to change your tactics with this, or this
Yeah.
is something that
Mhm.
I'm not gonna allow it. I've set boundaries.
Yeah, I hear that very clear, right? And each of those moments is a choice point, and you're making a different choice now than maybe you did historically, which is amazing.
Yeah.
Side note, I will throw out that I don't think you can build resilience without going through something hard. And independent of values, like think about we go to the gym, you have to lift weights, you have to lift heavy things in order to build strength. We have to do that psychologically as well. We lift heavy things, and that's where we figure out who we are, how we are, and that's where we build the strength. And I throw this out not to say that things aren't hard or that we should skip ahead to the, but at least I'm stronger now. Like, no, you have to go through the ick, but to know that you're capable, that you're
Yeah.
stronger than your mind will tell you. And when we can lean on our values, when we can follow our North Star and say, but this is who I am, I think it gives us an extra source of strength when we're going through those hard things.
Yes.
Thank you so much for sharing, Crystal. I appreciate that. And also, huge congrats to you.
Thank you.
Yeah. Anyone else willing to share a choice point or have a question before we wrap up for today?
Looks like we've got one in the
I just
chat.
saw that. So I have
Mhm.
a problem in my marriage, like misunderstanding much of the time. And I feel we both lost emotionally connection and desire, and he's not really happy with me. But we are together. We're still fighting. I don't know how to make him happy and bring emotional connection back in. Okay, I will throw out. I cannot give official therapeutic advice without knowing you and the whole situation. But I do have a few things for you to consider as you're in this situation. If we're coming back to the compass within, you can't control someone else's thoughts, someone else's feelings, or someone else's actions. That is not, we spend a lot of time trying to control other people, right? That's what people pleasing is a control strategy. Placating is a control strategy. Avoidance is all we can do is control our own actions, not even our own thoughts and feelings. Those are going to come up. We control what we do in response to it. So I would encourage you to come back to what's important to you. And it sounds like just from that short message, emotional connection is something that's very important. So I would ask you, how can you start to take steps in that? And that's probably going to mean opening versus closing down or avoiding. So, can you extend a connection? Can you extend a kindness? Can you start to open? What can you do to be the kind of partner that you want to be? Now, this is in sidestepping any sort of relationship piece. You can't make someone else happy. Yes, there are things within partners that you do or don't do. And these are things that you establish with your person in terms of our rhythms of connection and our agreements of what is and isn't okay. So you might also come back to if you want that emotional connection, I also hear intimacy is a value that requires vulnerability. So that might be something where you're at a choice point and you could lash out, you could shut down, you could stonewall, which just means sort of silent treatment, or you could open up and be vulnerable. I'm feeling really distant from you right now. How can we come back to each other? And maybe tapping into curiosity. What is this like for you? So I would encourage you to really think about your values and how you can start to put those into action. And then knowing that that is basically scratching the surface and there are so many nuances in a relationship. So it might be something to seek out counseling, or I know there's a lot of other great speakers lined up in this summit this week. I was looking at some of the other speakers, and I think intimacy is one of the topics. So there might be some really great stuff there as well. All right. I think we've got one more. Oh, understand. Great. Thank you. I want to thank everybody for spending time with me today and doing some reflection. I hope that you'll consider this and keep coming back to it, because honestly, knowing what your compass is and then choosing it time and time again, feeding that good wolf, it's going to help you be the person you want to be, but also get through the hard stuff when life throws hard at you, and it is going to inevitably. So thank you so much. Thank you, Angie, for hosting, and to Heart Mind Institute for inviting me to be a part of this amazing lineup.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Ashley. This was amazing. I know I have a lot of takeaways. I was surprised to think about during the part about the eulogy that I don't even really know what all my values are. So I'm gonna have some homework to do. So thank
Yeah.
you for that insight. Yes. Thank you to everyone for attending. We're going to be doing these live expert sessions all week. So please keep coming back. Different topics, different speakers, different days of the summit. We're looking forward to interacting with you all, and we hope that you like this new experience of engagement that we're trying to offer. So thank you so much again, Dr. Ashley, and thank you to everyone for tuning in today, and we will see you all soon.
It's a pleasure.
Thank
Bye, everybody.
Bye.